The sounds of the Jamaican folk singers. This Christmas, they're bringing the spirit of good cheer into the hearts of many as they go caroling across the country. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. On the show today, it's not too late to draw that sorrel and have it ready for Christmas Day. Plus, a financial guru sits in the hot seat on issues and answers this week. Plus, more melodic sounds from the Jamaican folk singers. Please stay with us.
Driving in holiday traffic or really any other time of the year demands your constant attention and vigilance to make sure you get from point A to B safely. It's far easier to do that if you follow a few simple rules. Stay alert. Do not be distracted by your cell phone, any other gadget or passenger while driving. When traveling at night, park in a well-lit area and always keep your car doors locked, even when at a stoplight. Make sure you have enough fuel in case there's an emergency and you need to divert from your usual route. In the event that you feel threatened while driving, stay calm and do not react aggressively. Instead, drive to a busy, safe place or the nearest police station. Follow these few tips and navigate the busy streets safely this holiday season and indeed at all times.
We're caroling with the Jamaican folk singers and we're coming to you from the Gallimore McPherson Senior Home right here in Ligonier, Kingston. And I have a beautiful lady with me today. Her name is Winifred McClarty and she's the cook right here at this home. So Winifred, let's talk about sorrel because you have a cup in your hand, I have a cup in my hand. So let's talk about that one ingredient that you must put in your sorrel anytime you make it for Christmas.
Well, my ingredient for sorrel is ginger, strictly ginger.
Just ginger?
Just ginger.
Strong ginger?
Strong ginger.
So you go to your market, you buy your ginger, you go home, you wash it, you scrape it or you peel it, or you beat it.
Grate it.
It's better when you grate it and strain it.
Yes.
But you don't have grater these days that are fine enough to catch the dregs from the... So what you do? Find one piece of clean fabric or cloth.
No, man, we still have the first time grater them.
First time grater?
Yeah,
a long time I not seen no first time grater.
Yeah, man, we still have them. Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me a little bit about how you prepare your sorrel, because everybody prepares sorrel differently.
Well, I prepare my sorrel. I got my sorrel. I bought it downtown. I come home and I wash it. I put on the pot with some water. I grate my ginger. I put in there. When the ginger boil in the water, then I throw the sorrel in it. I turn off my fire and I leave it to draw. But
you can put the sorrel in a container itself and throw the hot water on the sorrel, whichever you prefer.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Winifred, for that bit of information. So make sure that the next time you go to the supermarket or the market, wherever you choose to buy a sorrel and don't forget that one ingredient, the ginger. We have something nice coming up for you. Watch this.
For many Christians around the world, Christmas is a time when they give thanks and celebrate the birth of Jesus. In Jamaica, Christmas is also a time to eat and be merry. It is usually at this time of the year that many persons prepare a feast fit for a king for their families, usually consisting of mouth-watering foods such as rice and gungo peas, roasted chicken, ham, Christmas cake, and best of all, sorrel. Sorrel has always been a popular Caribbean drink during the Christmas season. Its unique flavor and bright red color adds to the meal experience. The calyx-covered fruits are brewed in water to make a refreshing cranberry-colored tea. is also used in salads, jams, puddings, and syrups. Sorrel contains a wide range of vitamins and minerals, including vitamin C, calcium, and riboflavin, and other nutrients. It is an antioxidant and fights anti-cancer cells, and is highly known for its B1 compounds, which provides a calming effect after it is consumed. Sorrel has several other properties. It soothes dry skin, purges the bowel, reduces inflammation or swelling. Mixed with salt, pepper, and molasses, sorrel can cure biliousness. A lotion made from the leaves can also be used on sores and wounds. It also stimulates digestion and improves appetite. Sorrel was brought to Jamaica in 1707 through the African slave trade. It is a plant that is dated to as far back as the 16th century and was first grown in India, Malaysia, and in Niger, Africa. Today it is grown year-round in Africa and widely cultivated throughout tropical and subtropical regions around the globe. So this Christmas, while eating all the Christmas cake and ham, remember to have some sorrel. It is not only a refreshing part of Jamaica's Christmas culture, but it has a wide range of health benefits.
It's Christmas and there are lots of talk about money management and balancing the demands of the season. The government has a similar task though. For them it's a daily affair. Co-chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, Richard Biles, explains. Here's more.
Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. There's an Economic Program Oversight Committee which looks at the IMF program. It is co-chaired by the Governor of the Bank of Jamaica, Brian Winter, and Mr. Richard Biles, who is the president of SAGICOR. Mr. Biles is with us today to talk about the work of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, as well as its monitoring experience of the International Monetary Fund. We thank you for your company. Mr. Biles, good to have you on Issues and Answers. First, I think we should talk about the importance of this Economic Program Oversight Committee. Why is this important? The government had set this up as a means of giving the private sector the opportunity to monitor the IMF program.
Yeah, we've been in many IMF programs before, Ian. I think maybe about, it's in excess of 10. And we haven't passed them all. In fact, we have passed very few of them. And part of the reason is just sticking to it. You know, we need the programs because we have done something wrong and we need to fix it. And fixing it is a difficult job. And with difficulty, you know, people waver sometimes. So the idea of the Oversight Committee is to put the eyes of the private sector, the civil society, trade union movement on the agreement. How are we performing from month to month, from quarter to quarter? Are we hitting those targets? Are we likely to run into any difficulties? How can we head it off? And most importantly, just to be the eyes and ears of the public as to what is happening. So it's like being up on the pole of a ship, rather than down on the deck. You can see a little further what is happening.
Yes. And you have access to critical information. You can summon critical information. In other words, you don't have to wait until reports come to the committee. If you have concerns as members of the private sector, civil society, you can be proactive about those concerns through the mechanism of this committee.
Yes, absolutely. So the kind of primary aim is to watch our performance versus the targets. And the IMF targets are very specific and they are time bound. I mean, everything has a date to be accomplished, and that's good. But beyond that, there are implications that we can look at from time to time. For example, the business of growth. It's not there in the IMF agreement in any explicit form, but as Jamaicans, we all are concerned about growth. So we call in ministers, head of institutions to talk about, what can we do to spur growth. So that's a good example of our wider responsibility.
Okay. So the responsibility goes beyond just the targets.
Well,
the monitoring of the targets. In other words, you are looking to see how the monitoring of the targets are leading toward the end, which is economic growth.
Exactly. So, the program wants us to be constrained in how we spend, but it wants the economy to grow, and it's almost a contradiction. Yes. So you have to manage that process and that balance very carefully. And that's what we're most concerned about, Are we managing the balance carefully?
Yes. You gave a report recently of our performance. Could you tell us essentially what was the gravamen of that report? Where are we now with the program and with the targets?
Well, we have gone 2 out of 16 quarters, so we're just beginning the journey. We have a long way to go, but it's a good start.
A good start.
Yes, we're past all of the tests, all of the targets for the first 2 quarters. We have met them, and they're quantitative targets, and they are things to do kind of targets called structural adjustment. So a lot of the legislation you see going through Parliament now are targets that are been set by the IMF. In fact, we have a quiet little joke amongst ourselves that if you want anything to be done in Jamaica, put it in IMF agreement, because they really do prosecute that agreement very closely. They're very tough about achieving those targets. And so we have achieved them all so far. We have a 3rd test coming up at the end of this month. I think we're in pretty good condition to hit those targets. I believe so. The tough one is the last quarter. All those targets really kind of accelerate up very steeply. The amount of primary surplus, as well as the net international reserves. So the last quarter is a challenging one, but it's also the quarter when most of the tax revenue comes in. It's also the quarter when the tourism industry is at its height. So that's why the targets are so steep.
The net international reserves were not as buoyant as they could be, but you're expecting that at the end of this month, December, that they would have improved over the last assessment.
Yes, we feel pretty confident that we'll hit the December test. And just to say, Ian, that cued in behind the IMF agreement and achieving those targets is the World Bank and is the IDB, right? Who between the both of them, I believe they bring about $1 billion US to the table over the 4-year period. And the World Bank is mostly concerned about growth. They are interested in funding initiatives to see growth. The IMF is very focused on the fiscal balance. So we are looking forward to end of this quarter, going into next calendar year, the World Bank and the IDB starting to bring funds to the table to begin some of those initiatives for growth.
Excellent. But the fact that we are achieving the targets put us in line for the release of those funds from the World Bank and the...
Absolutely. If we don't achieve those targets, the World Bank and the IDB are not lending us any money, and the IMF will stop.
Yes. We're speaking to the co-chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, Mr. Richard Biles. We take a break.
Oh, come, all ye faithful. and triumphant, oh come ye to him. Come and behold him, on the King of Kings.
Welcome back. There's an Economic Program Oversight Committee that monitors the IMF program, that ensures that the targets are being met and that things are falling in place. We have the co-chair of that committee, Mr. Richard Biles, with us. And Mr. Biles, your recent report noted that there was a fall in tax collections, which, as you said earlier, is expected to pick up in the current quarter. But you did mention in the report that this adverse performance was balanced by prudent management of both recurrent expenses, $8.5 billion, and capital projects, $9.2 billion, both being lower than budgeted expenditure. So we are doing well. I mean, and these are areas in which we need to do well. We need to manage recurrent expenses and capital projects. So that's good news.
Yes, so we'd love to collect the revenue so that we could spend what we have budgeted. But to the extent that in some months they don't collect the revenues, they have so far done the smart thing, which is to hold back on the expenditures. We'd like to spend more on the capital side because that really builds the stock for the economy to grow. But they have been very prudent so far.
How important is fiscal prudence in your view? Why is it important that we contain our expenditures?
Well, think of it as like your family. If for years you have spent more than you have earned and you have built up a debt to the point where nobody wants to lend you again, there's only one thing for you to do, which is to cut back. And when you cut back and you get things more in balance, then the people who used to lend you before come back and start to lend you again. And Jamaica is in that position. Borrowed too much for decades, not produced enough for ourselves. And so we have to go through this relatively painful period where we step back from that mountain of debt that we have built up. Key to stepping back is that we get some growth from the private sector. And this is a point I want to make, Ian. To the extent that the government is contracting its expenditure and borrowing less, they haven't come to the market to borrow since the beginning of the budget. No significant amount of money. Almost remarkable. To the extent they are stepping back, the private sector needs to step up, right, and to borrow from the banks and to expand production. That's the whole theory behind this whole fiscal contraction, so that as the government comes out of the market, the private sector is allowed to come in.
Are we seeing enough of that?
No, but we are seeing some. We need to see more.
What is constraining the private sector?
Well, I think that years of failure have built up a legacy, and I think a lot of the private sector are standing on the sidelines saying, let me watch this a little bit more closely. Is this for real? Are they going to continue to be so firm and dedicated to achieve these targets? Or are they going to slip back one day? Remember the last IMF agreement we were in 2010? We passed 3 quarters, and that was it. Yes. So we haven't even reached there yet. Yes. So I think the private sector is still a little lacking in confidence. But I think that as we go along and we pass more of the quarterly tests, as some of the private sector actually step into the real economy and begin to invest, as we have done with the hotels, I think others will look on and say, it looks like these guys are making money, and let me try it too. It looks like the government is doing the right things. Let me invest in a real economy. So I think it takes a little bit of confidence building by doing. Talking is good, but I think doing is even better. And if the government does what they have to do, and the business community steps in and starts to make some investments, a lot more of that growth will occur.
From your perspective as a corporate leader, do you believe that the government is really committed to economic reform? From where you sit as co-chair, from your interaction with government, do you think that they have the will?
Yeah. Ian, I would say yes, based on the interaction I've had with the Minister of Finance, the Governor of the bank, the Financial Secretary. I think they demonstrate to us on the epoch, not just myself, and I want to just speak a little bit soon about who comprises epoch. They have demonstrated to us that they are absolutely committed to achieving these targets. And we are quite impressed with the dedication that they bring. And if that is representative of how the whole government feels, great.
We'll end on that note, Mr. Biles. We're going to ask you to come back because there are other issues to do with growth, to do with employment, to do with the social sector that we need to deal with. So Mr. Richard Biles, who is co-chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee looking at the IMF program, will be back with us. We thank you for your company today. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Boyne wishing you a pleasant day.
Christmas is here again, and there are so many things you may want to do this Christmas. For parents, you know how the children can be. They are anticipating gifts and making all kinds of demands. But how can you meet those expectations when money is tight? Well, you may want to consider this. Why not engage the children? Talk to them about your financial situation. Let them know how much you have to spend and spell out the necessary things that you must buy. Let them help you design a budget and stick to it. Talk to them about the possibility of postponing gift giving until a later date when you can afford it. Or choose to buy a gift the whole family will enjoy. Don't assume they won't understand. Talk to them. You will be surprised how understanding they can be.
Happy holidays from the Jamaica Information Service. So we're here talking with Christine MacDonald-Nevers, and she's the director of the Jamaican Folk Singers. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, caroling is a tradition that is dying fast.
Yes.
Now, why is it important for the Jamaican Folk Singers to keep this tradition alive?
Well, the Jamaican Folk Singers, part of our mission is a big part of what we do is giving back and sharing. And as our founder, Dr. Olive Lewin, always preached, you know, when she was doing the research and gathering our music, she got the music freely from our grandparents, great-grandparents, etc., etc. And so it is part of our responsibility, yes, to give back as much as possible whenever possible. And when we go caroling, we do for over a period of about 2 weeks.
Yes.
During the week and during the work week and on the weekends, and we go to children's homes, we go to senior citizens residences, we go to hospitals, we go to homes of members of the extended Jamaican Folk Singers family just to be with them, because we have to recognize that they don't have some of the things that we have, the freedom to move about. You know, there are so many things we take for granted.
Yes.
And when we can do and help others, we should always do that. So that's an important part of what we do. It's not just entertainment for the fun of it, but there is a greater purpose to that.
Jesus, my Lord, never a baby like Jesus, never, never.
you've been operating on a very tight schedule. Tell us what the reception has been like so far at all the locations that you've been caroling.
It's really a motivation.
Yes.
I mean, we go to homes of different sizes with some have 4 residents, some have 12, 15, 20. You go to some of the hospitals and you see the people who are there getting their treatment for their cancer. And it is what is so amazing is we who have gone to sing, you know, on a daily basis, we are speaking about our various challenges. I know this is hard and life is, and we go to these places and we see these people, some who are dying, they're on their last essentially, and when we go and we sing and they are so bright and positive, it really puts things in perspective to give us who have gone to share with them. So we get a lot from them, from observing them. And each place that we have gone, we've gone to Sir John Golding Rehab Center, and you see those children who can't move up and down as we can.
Yes.
And when they are there, they are the happiest set of people you could ever meet. So it's a lesson for us, and that's why we try to get as many of our members to come to these things to just help give us a greater appreciation for what we have.
Thank you so much. Christine MacDonald Nevers talking to us about caroling. The Jamaican folk singers doing it across the country. You too can find the time in your neighborhood to go caroling. And thanks for keeping the tradition alive.
This year, you can give a gift. It's a universal gift. It's a 4-letter word. It's called love. Give everyone you meet. Silent night, holy night, all is come, all is bright. Crown young virgin mother and child. So tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. People making lists, buying special gifts, taking time to be kind to one and all. It's that time of year when good friends are near, and you'd want a little more than the presents from the store. Why don't you give love on Christmas Day? Christmas Day, no greater gift.
Think on this. He who has not Christmas in his heart will never find it under a tree. Words of Pastor Roy L. Smith. We've come to the end of our program for today. I would like to say a big thank you to the Jamaican folk singers for allowing us to share in the caroling moment. We'd like to say a big thank you to the staff right here at the Gallimore McPherson Senior Home, and to you at home for having joined us. We'd like to hear from you, so send us an email, jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. You can follow us on Twitter at JISnews or visit our website, jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire production team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas when it comes.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.